All right, for this section, guys, we're going to do 7-5 proportions in triangles. Theorem 7-4 says that if a line is parallel to one side of a triangle and it intersects the other two sides in two distinct points, then it separates these sides into segments of proportional lengths. What that means is I can set up a proportion of BA over CB is equal to DE over CD, and I can use cross multiplication or whatever is needed to solve for a missing length. All right. So example 1 here, it tells us that EH is 9, that HG is 21, and that FL is 6, and they want us to find LG. So if I have that, instead of having to add pieces together, you could just set up, because we know these two lines are parallel, we could do 9 over 21 is equal to 6 over x, and just use our cross multiplication to solve. So we do 9 times x, we get 9x, and we do 21 times 6, and we get 126. We divide by 9, and x equals 14. So if x equals 14, then LG equals 14. All right? They might do that with one that you might have to use the distributive property, so make sure that you are careful with that, okay? The corollary to that says, if 3 or more parallel lines intersect at 2 transversals, then they cut off the transversals proportionally, which means I can take whatever this piece is and put it over this piece, and then take AB and put it over BC and set those equal. So you see all the proportions down here at the bottom of your screen. There's many different ways you could set it up, but that's just one way. All right? And then at the very bottom, it's a review. If 3 or more parallel lines are cut by congruent segments on one transversal, then they cut off congruent segments on every transversal. What that means is if I draw 2 lines, something like this, and then I draw parallel lines through there, and I know that they're all parallel, and then I tell you that these two are equal, then that means these two must also be equal. All right? That's all it's saying. And that's a review from when we did congruent triangles. All right? All right. So let's use the back example here, number 2. They tell us that these lines are parallel. We do not think that any of this is equal, but we can set up a proportion. So we can take 5, set it up over x, and then 3 over 6. So 5 times 6 is 30. 3 times x is 3x. Divide by 3, and you get that x equals 10. All right. Then our next one, we have the converse of the proportionality theorem, which says if a line intersects 2 sides of a triangle and separates the sides into corresponding segments of proportional lengths, then the lines are parallel to the third side. What that means is if I tell you that you can set up a proportion of this over this equals this over this, then that means these 2 lines have to be parallel every single time. All right? The example that it has here, it says, if triangle HKM, or in triangle HKM, it tells you that H to M, which is this entire length, is 15, and that this piece is 10. Then they say that HJ is twice the length of JK. So you can think of it as 2x and x. That would be the best way to think about it, because when you do it that way, you're saying that this is a piece and then this is 2 times that piece. Now that we have that, we can set up our proportion. We have a 10 here, but we know if the whole thing is 15, then this piece must be 5 because they add up to 15. So we can start with 10 over 5 equals 2x over x. All right? So we cross multiply, we get 10x equals 10x. And because those 2 things are equal, we don't have to, we can stop right there, and that tells us that NJ is parallel to MK. So we can write out that NJ is parallel to MK. All right? So because those 2 pieces are equal, it works. All right. 7-5, the triangle angle bisector theorem says if a ray bisects an angle of a triangle, then it divides the opposite side into 2 segments that are proportional. To the other 2 sides of the triangle. What that means is I can take AC and put it over CD and take AB and put it over DB, and those 2 things would be equal. many different ways that you can set this problem up, but we're going to do the one below to help us out here, all right? So, the picture kind of got messed up here. You should have had that piece drawn on there, and they'll tell you that it's an angle bisector. If they don't have that, then it won't work, so make sure that you do draw that on there. So what I can do is I can set up a proportion of the parts. 10 matches 18, so I'm going to take 10 and put it over 18. 12 matches x, so I'm going to put 12 over x, and then I can just use cross multiplication. So 10 times x is 10x. 18 times 12 gives us 216. We divide by 10 and we get that x equals 21.6. All right, so those are your notes for 7.5. Make sure that you come into class with those completed.